Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this Monday, April 30th, finds that there are not any real major changes in the forecast versus what I presented back on Friday. A significant rain system going to be impacting a big portion of the Corn Belt during this work week period. Longer range rainfall forecast pretty sketchy, but I do not sense anything real big in the way of rainfall for either the 6 to 10 or 11 to 15 day forecast. Overall, the situation may be a little bit drier coming up for the mid-south and southeast, as the current dry period is going to be extending a day longer than I suggested for back on Friday, and the rains for late this week look quite modest. Similar situation in the hard red winter wheat belt to what I presented back on Friday, as the dry line is going to be giving that area a multiple day chance of strong thunderstorms or even severe thunderstorms, but still a situation where the west is going to be missing out on the bulk of the activity, and still not a very wet forecast for the next 2 weeks in the northern plains. Longer range temperature and precipitation outlook shown there. Only thing that I really want to note here is limited confidence in the details of the rainfall forecast for the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day periods. Again, low confidence with regards to details, although I do feel quite good about the below normal rainfall forecast for especially the Corn Belt, Mid-South, and Southeast for the 6 to 10 day period. QPF discussion this morning. No major disagreements with this forecast. It looks like a solid rainfall event coming up for the Corn Belt for this work week period. The bulk of the rainfall still far enough away where we may be seeing some modest changes in the Corn Belt rainfall forecast, but for now I think that this is a good representation of what is going to occur. We'll point out though that in the hard red winter wheat belt, look at how very limited the rainfall expectations are from the Weather Prediction Center in the western portions of that area. Multiple rainfall chances for today through Thursday, but again, a lot of that drier area in the west, not looking at very good rainfall chances in that period, even with the extended rainfall threat in question. For days 6 and 7, this is when the details of the precipitation forecast get pretty sketchy. Overall, I think that rainfall amounts are going to be no heavier than what is shown, but I think that in general, you're going to be seeing rainfall coverage be considerably less than what is suggested by that map. Temperatures from yesterday saw a contrast in temperatures, with readings running 10 plus degrees below normal in the eastern Corn Belt, while in a good portion of the plains and into the far western Corn Belt you saw temperatures there yesterday running 10 plus degrees above normal. Rainfall totals since through 1 a.m. This morning, not showing a whole lot, but some of precipitation getting started in western portions of the northern plains, and we did see a little bit of activity late yesterday afternoon and last evening in portions of the Texas Panhandle along the dry line. I'll be talking about that a little bit more in just a moment. Here's your radar estimated rainfall and precipitation for the last 3 days. Did see some very minimal amounts of precipitation of largely under a half inch in northeastern portions of the Corn Belt during the early portion of the weekend period. And then our storm system of this week is starting to break out some widely scattered showers and a few thunder showers in far northwestern portions of the Corn Belt this morning, and also some rainfall here recently in western portions of the northern plains. Crop progress report expectations for this afternoon, looking for a 22% done figure on the corn number, 12% done on spring wheat, and you can see my projections for next week's numbers for both crops. As far as the forecast is concerned, back on Friday we talked a lot about the dry line situation in the winter wheat areas of the southern plains, noting how that area would have a multi-day threat of rainfall, but quite likely a situation where we wouldn't be seeing a whole lot of rainfall on a given day, given just the overall situation. Here's what developed along the dry line last night. You did see that if you're lucky to get under a strong or severe thunderstorm, you did see some localized decent amounts there of more than an inch in portions of the Texas Panhandle. But again, notice how limited your coverage was. A vast majority of the winter wheat area of the southern plains had absolutely nothing in the way of rainfall, even with the dry line late yesterday afternoon and last evening. We'll see that continuing for another few days. Here's the severe weather outlook for the next 3 days. Today, tomorrow, and into Wednesday. Dry line situation. Dry line really not located any further east today than it was yesterday. And then you can see that a further eastward development of thunderstorms expected for tomorrow and Wednesday. So the dry line does move a little bit further eastward. For those western areas of the winter wheat areas, probably their best chance for any shower and thunderstorm activity is going to be during the next 24 hours. Again, very isolated, very localized in nature. If you're a spot that gets under a strong or severe thunderstorm, you might be able to get a nice amount, but the vast majority of the area getting nothing. And then your better rainfall chances for both tomorrow and Wednesday, and even into Thursday, largely located to the east of the western portions of the winter wheat belt of the southern plains. In the Corn Belt, here's our situation that is going to be producing the significant rainfall in the Corn Belt. We're going to be seeing a situation where the frontal boundary responsible for the rains is not going to be moving a whole lot. Let's draw on the frontal boundary as of late tomorrow afternoon. And there you can see how it's located right there with the dry line extending further south from that. For late on Wednesday, let's draw it in once again. Again, hasn't really moved a whole lot. And when you get these storm systems that really do not move a whole lot, and the frontal system response associated with them not moving a whole lot, that's when you can get your bigger rainfall totals. You can also see that the upper level system is located in far southwestern portions of the nation at that time, so it is not moving a whole lot either. By the time we get to Thursday, still the frontal system not moving a whole lot at that time. But you can see at that point that the main energy from the upper level system is starting to move out of the southwestern U.S. at that time. So beyond late Thursday, that is when we are going to be seeing the frontal system moving more rapidly to the east, and a big reason why we are going to be seeing much more limited rainfall amounts from the storm system in question in the mid-south and southeast at the end of this week. I talked about this back on Friday, that I think that a big portion of the rainfall that is going to be impacting the Corn Belt during this work week period is actually quite beneficial in nature. You can see some of the rainfall amounts that are suggested for the next 5 days from the European ensemble. Some big amounts in a large portion of the area, but notice how that matches up quite well with the portion of the Corn Belt that has been especially dry during this month so far. So again, like I said back on Friday, for southern Iowa, for northwestern Missouri, for northern Missouri I should say, for northwestern portion of Illinois, for eastern northeastern Kansas, for eastern Nebraska, rainfall that is going to be occurring during this work week period I think has to be considered as highly beneficial, even though we are in the midst of the spring planting season at this time. Longer range, again, a lot of sketchiness in the rainfall forecast details once we get to the weekend and beyond. What I'm showing here is the European model on the left and the GFS model on the right. This is as of about 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, May 8th. And you can see that both models are suggesting some rainfall at that time in the Corn Belt. But the reason that they're developing that rainfall is vastly different. It's mainly via an upper level system from the European model, but from the GFS model you can see that pretty good blast of cold air is working southward, and that's the reason why that model is developing the rainfall at that time. So both showing rainfall for the Monday-Tuesday time frame of next week, and I do believe that there can be rainfall in that period, just not a lot of model agreement on the details of how that rainfall develops. And in general, you can also see that both models are not real optimistic on big rainfall amounts. So while the details of the 6 to 10 day rainfall forecast are sketchy at this time, especially for the middle of the country, especially for the Corn Belt, Mid-South, and Southeast, I do have a lot of confidence that 6 to 10 day rainfall amounts will indeed be below normal. So really not looking at any big rainfall amounts for the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day periods across a big portion of the nation's midsection. Just have a lot of work to do though with regards to rainfall forecast details in both time frames. Temperature-wise, a nice warm-up going to be seen during the middle of this week in a big portion of the nation's midsection. Looking at temperature anomalies for Wednesday on the right shows that we do have a big portion of the plains and into the Corn Belt seeing temperatures running as much as 15 degrees above normal. That'll be posing us with highs in the 70s and 80s across a good portion of the Corn Belt and Mid-South, and you can see 90s, even some 95 plus degree weather at that time in a significant portion of the hard red winter wheat belt, and again that is for Wednesday. We'll see some cooler weather after that, but in the longer term, seeing indications that we are going to be seeing some warming taking place by the time we get to the latter portion of the 11 to 15 day period. This is day 14 of the current 2-week forecast, so that would be for Sunday, May 13th, and you can see that both the GFS ensemble shown in the upper left, the Canadian ensemble in the upper right, and the European ensemble in the bottom center are showing an extensive portion of the nation looking at above normal temperatures by the time we get to that latter portion of the 11 to 15 day period. So after somewhat of a near to below normal temperature regime for the weekend and into the first portion of next week, we are looking at a warmer temperature regime again as we get towards latter portions of the 11 to 15 day period. I mentioned some windy conditions back on Friday, and they are still in the forecast for a sizable portion of the nation's midsection. This is the wind gust forecast for late this afternoon, and you can see that the models are indicating some areas of 40 plus mile per hour wind gusts. On the right is advisories right now from the National Weather Service, and circled there are some wind advisories posted for portions of the western Corn Belt and into the Plain States. Kind of surprised and that they are not seeing wind advisories over a bigger portion of the area, and frankly I think that some wind advisories may be issued at some point today for a big portion of the plains located further southwest. Windy conditions overall staying fairly significant in a big portion of the nation's midsection right through Thursday. Internationally this morning, not much change in the forecast for the corn areas of Brazil, with a widespread below normal rainfall regime there for the next 2 weeks. The driest area looking to be Goiás into western portion of Minas Gerais, where 2-week rainfall totals there maybe next to nothing. As we get towards around the May 9th, 10th time frame, we could be seeing some modest rains to be developing in some of the corn areas of southern Mato Grosso do Sul and into Paraná. As far as Argentina is concerned, extremely wet weather there during the next 2 weeks, looking at a lot of rainfall amounts there of 5 to 9 inches for portions of eastern Cordoba and into Entre Rios. That's what I have for this morning. Everyone have themselves a good day.